And the final default free deck upgrade for the upcoming 2023 season is Suicune V. To put it mildly, Suicune gets absolutely obliterated by rotation. Are you ready for this? When rotation comes to Pokemon TCG Live on March 30th and removes all D-block cards, Suicune V will lose Top Entry Lombre, Zigzagoon, Crobat V, Marnie, Birdkeeper, Quick Ball, Evolution Incense, Scoop Up Net, Ordinary Rod, Capacious Bucket, Air Balloon, Cape of Toughness, and Capture Energy. I honestly debated whether this video was even worth making given how much it loses, but if you're crazy enough to try it, this is how you'll want to play it. First up, you'll want 4 Suicune V. The default deck only has 2, so you'll need to craft 2 more for 1500 credits. Suicune V does 20 base damage plus 20 more for each bench Pokemon on both sides of the field, so you want to be able to fill up your bench quickly. That's where Lotad comes in, able to put 2 basic Pokemon on your bench for 1 energy. And since the damage output of Suicune V isn't insanely high, you'll need to use Ludicolo. Unfortunately, the loss of Scoop Up Net really throws a wrench in things. So now, once a Ludicolo is put into play, it's basically just stuck there. Sure, you may attack with it once in a while, but it's less than ideal. Still, the added 100 damage Ludicolo provides on the turn you evolve into it is worth the added headache. Next, we have a couple of familiar faces. Radiant Greninja can put an energy in the discard pile to draw you 2 cards, while Lumineon V can go and get you any supporter like Melony. An added benefit of this being a water deck is that there is a chance you can attack with Lumineon V, which does 120 damage and puts itself back into your deck. Now we come to the Manaphy. Protecting your bench Pokemon is always a good idea, but then we also have this promo Manaphy. For a single water energy, it can take any 2 basic Pokemon from your opponent's hand and put them onto their bench. Since Suicune relies on your opponent having a lot of bench Pokemon in play as well, Manaphy can help boost your damage, it just might not be completely reliable. Since the free version of the deck already includes a 1/1 copy of Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX, I decided to leave them in. It has 320 hit points and can deal 250 damage, though you do have to discard energy in the process. Used properly though, it can swing the game in your favor. There's other options for Suicune, but they mostly just turn it into a Palkia deck. Yes, Palkia Vstar is essentially just an improved version of Suicune V. It has more hit points, deals more damage, and has a V-Star power that accelerates up to 3 water energy into play. And if you're making a Palkia V-Star deck, odds are you won't include Suicune V since it gives up the same number of prizes as Palkia, except it's easier to knock out. Oh, and don't forget about Drapion V, which is just about the only way you can beat Mew. So if you find yourself battling Mew a lot, take out the Ice Riders and add in 2 Drapion V. A benefit Suicune has over Palkia is that it can attack on turn 1 going second. That's thanks to Melony. You'll likely have to use Radiant Greninja to get that energy into the discard pile, but a quick knockout is rarely a bad thing. Other supporters here include Serena, Boss's Orders, Raihan, and Irida, the latter of which can go and get you any water Pokemon and any item card. Irida is great for finding a Ludicolo and Rare Candy on the same turn, so plan on relying it a lot if you want to win with Suicune. The items are fairly straightforward. Rare Candy evolves Lotad into Ludicolo, Choice Belt boosts your damage by 30 against Pokemon V, and Nest Ball and Ultra Ball get your Pokemon. I also included Forest Seal Stone to get any card you want whenever you need it, as well as Sky Seal Stone, which can give you an extra prize card on a pivotal turn, provided you KO a Pokemon VMAX or V-Star with Suicune. I went with 4 copies of the base Switch, since it can also switch out your Ludicolo, but you could go with 2 Switch and 2 Switch card instead. Switch card heals 30 damage from the Pokemon you're switching, but it can only switch a basic Pokemon, not an evolution. There's also Echoing Horn, which can put any basic Pokemon from your opponent's discard pile onto their bench, which then boosts the amount of damage that Suicune V can do. Including Lost City as the stadium may seem weird for a deck running Echoing Horn, and I mean it kind of is, but low hit point decks like Lost Box are always going to be trouble, so you need a way to give yourself a chance against them. Lost City puts any knocked out Pokemon into the Lost Zone, meaning you can run your opponent out of attackers if it's played correctly. For energy, I decided to throw in 3 copies of Gift Energy because why not? Suicune V attacks for a water and a colorless energy, and drawing cards isn't the easiest thing in the world for this deck, so it seemed like a decent idea. Gift Energy refills your hand to 7 cards when the Pokemon it's attached to gets knocked out, so it can be a great way to ensure you always have a big hand. To that end, you may want to go for 4 copies of Cross Switcher. I couldn't find space for them in the list, but if you play 2 at once, you can bring up any one of your opponent's bench Pokemon and still have your supporter for turn. It's just a case of finding 4 cards you can remove to make room for them. And that's it. Like I mentioned earlier, it's tough to say if Suicune V is even worth playing in 2023. Rotation takes far too many good cards from it, and Palkia Vstar is just a better version of it. Still, if you want to give Suicune a shot, it will cost you 8,100 credits to make it playable this year.